Hello, everyone. Very good evening. How are you all doing? If I'm visible and audible to you clearly, type yes in the chat box. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know that I'm audible and visible. Great. So let me share my screen over here. Yes. So I welcome each and every one of you for this brand new healing session. And yeah, I can see a lot of awesome people here. Great. And I want everyone to switch on your cameras, right? So today is an exciting day, and today we don't have very long session, right? It should be engaging, and we are going to wrap up. Great. So I welcome everyone for this new healing session, and I'm so excited for this session. How many of you are excited? Let me know in the chat box. Great. Wonderful. So many of you. So from this week, we are going to start a new series called What are the top 10 dietary mistakes we are making that is leading to diseases, right? For the next few weeks, we are going to extensively discuss about the food, right? What are all the foods that we are consuming? Out of that, what could be causing diseases, and what are the alternatives, and how can we include some wonderful healing foods which can actually improve your physical strength, foods can improve your mental health, foods can improve your emotional health, right? We are going to extensively discuss about that. So today I'm just going to give you a brief. Okay, from the next session onwards we are going to go in depth about it, right? How many of you are ready for this new brand new session? Great. So before understanding exactly what could be the mistakes we may be making, right? First, understand why diet is important, right? Everybody here knows food is the fundamental for our body, right? What we eat is going to build our body, and it is going to decide our health, and it is going to decide our well-being, right? And it is going to decide whether we are suffering from a disease or whether we are living with a full performance in our body, right? In the life. So let's understand why we need food. Number one, for physical health, which means physical strength, right? Everybody wants to be living healthy, and not only just living healthy, we want to have a lot of physical energy to be able to go through the life, right? To complete all the works and to be able to focus on things, right? We need a lot of physical energy, right? So that is why food plays a crucial role. And number two, mental clarity, right? This is where most people don't understand, or they don't have a clarity, right? What we eat will actually decide our mindset, our mental clarity, right? People who don't focus on their diet, they will end up having this lack of focus, right? Their memory power is not good. They cannot feel the optimum performance in their personal life and professional life, right? That is why it is very important. And the next one is emotional well-being. How is your state of mind is decided by what food you eat, and how is your health. So that is why it is very, very important to understand exactly what we are eating, right? And we need to make little changes so that we can achieve these three things. What are those? Physical strength, mental clarity, emotional well-being, right? How many of you are ready for this? Type 3 in the chat box. If you are someone who would like to improve these three things, you want to improve your physical health, mental health, and emotional health by practicing techniques, by just making little changes in the diet, and you would like to achieve it over the next few weeks. Okay, great. So for the next coming 4 to 4 weeks, we are going to discuss about what are the top 10 diet mistakes we are making that is leading to health problems, right? And today we are going to discuss about mistake number one, right? What is the biggest mistake we humans are doing? Because of that, we are having health issues, right? As simple as that. I'll just make it very simple for you. I don't want to get into all the technicalities, right? Jargon and all these things. I'll just make it very, very simple for you. So the first mistake we humans are making is excessive dependence on refined grains, right? Whether it is rice or flour, it could be maida or whatever the flour we will be using, right? So this is the major root cause for a lot of health issues, right? Let's understand, first of all, what are refined grains, right? If we take any grain which is given by the nature, it contains three things. Number one, it contains an outer layer, right? And then it contains inner layer, and then it contains a germ, right? So what we have been doing for the past 30, 35, 40 years is we are just removing the bran and we are removing the germ and we are just taking this only starchy part of any grain. It could be rice, it could be wheat, it could be any kind of grain, right? Why we are doing that? Why we humans have actually created this particular system where we are removing this outer layer? Because if any grain contains this outer layer for a long time, after 20 days, 25 days, it is going to spoil, right? So to increase the shelf life of that particular grain so that we can use it for a longer period of time, so that it can reach to every village, we can store it for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, right? That is the reason why we created a system where we are going to remove the bran and we are going to take the white starchy part of any grain, right? This started around maybe 100 years ago or 70 years ago, and it became democratized over the last 30, 35 years ago, right? Everything we are eating, just refining the grain and taking the starchy part, and we are making something out of it. You may be eating white rice, you may be eating wheat, you may be eating something made out of maida, you may be mixing, and we are making thousand recipes out of it. But essentially the fundamental building block which is inside of all these recipes is this white starchy part, right? And number two, the second reason why we have been taking only the starchy part is, instead of looking for any other alternatives, why we have been using grains excessively is because availability. It is easily available and inexpensive when compared to any other things which you find in the nature, right? If you see nuts, if you see seeds, all these are little bit expensive when compared to grains, right? Grains are the food which can be easily grown like anywhere. So that is the reason why we humans adopted this as a normal food, right? So this is the root cause of majority of these problems, because of two reasons, right? One is, yeah, I'll discuss about it. So these are the major two grains which we have been using, right? White rice and atta. So with these two things, we are making so many recipes. So why these two things are actually creating so many health issues for humans? Why it is the root cause, right? Let us see their impact on human health. The first thing is nutritional deficiency, right? Because this white starchy part does not contain any nutrition except carbohydrate, which is which will convert into glucose and give you some instant energy, right? It is nothing but calories, but you are not getting any kind of nutrition, right? So that is one of the reason why we humans are getting a lot of health issues, right? So let's understand, if you don't remove this outer bran, what can happen? Number one, you will get the fiber, right? This outer bran contains fiber. So when you have fiber, what happens? Your bowel movements will be clear. The food will be completely digested and eliminated from your body, right? That is the role of the fiber. Fiber keeps your undigested food moving in your digestive tract, and fiber makes sure that it is going to eliminate the food from the body, right? Number two, vitamins. Vitamins are the most important thing for humans, particularly when it comes to our mental health, right? So the B vitamins and vitamin D, vitamin K, these are the most important vitamins which our body needs on a daily basis to be able to make the body, right, working in an optimum way. So by removing this outer bran, we are actually removing all the vitamins, right? So that is why we need to take the vitamins from, again, supplementation. We are supplementing the vitamins. And number three, minerals, right? Our human body needs certain minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium, right? Phosphorus. These are the minerals which our body needs. So when I actually tell the most importance of minerals is, these minerals will actually control our emotional health, right? That is the most important thing. That is why people who are deficient of certain minerals, they will always have low energy, weakness, low like mood swings. They're not able to focus on things for a longer period of time. So all these things will happen. So all these things I'll discuss in the later session. Maybe after 2 or 3 sessions I'm going to get deeper into that. Today I just want to give brief. Okay. So number one, nutritional deficiency. You are not getting any nutrition except the starch part, right? That is why your body is not able to repair itself. Your body is not able to heal itself, and your body is becoming a lot of source for many of the health issues. So this is the first thing we need to address. And the second reason is rapid spikes in blood sugar, right? Every time you eat any starchy part, any carbohydrate, excess carbohydrate, what happens in your body? These carbohydrate will immediately convert into sugar. Within 3 to 4 hours, it will convert into sugar. It will go into your blood and it will circulate in your blood, right? So whenever there is a sugar, which means glucose and sugar both are same only. So whenever you have a glucose or sugar in your blood, what happens? Your pancreas will produce insulin immediately. And this insulin will take the sugar in your blood and put it in your cells, right? So that it can be converted into energy. So that is called a metabolic process. So when you consume only carbohydrates, right, only the white starchy part, what happens? Every 3 hours, your insulin levels will be like increased in your body, and this insulin is putting the glucose into the cells, and cells will not be able to utilize that because they will be overwhelmed, and they will convert into fat, right? So if this process continues for more than 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, what happens? You will become diabetic. That condition is called diabetes, right? Because you have been excessively using insulin, and after some time insulin is not able to do its work because of overwork, right? So this condition is called diabetes, and this is one of the root cause for majority of these health issues. Not only diabetes, if you heard a thing called metabolic disorder, right? Nowadays if you go to doctor and if you can take the blood reports, and they will say you have a metabolic disorder. What is metabolic disorder? Simply this one: your metabolism is not working properly. Because of that, it could lead to diabetes, blood pressure. For women it could lead to thyroid and PCOD and a lot of other problems. Okay, I'll give you clarity about that in the upcoming session. We have a session, dedicated session for that. Okay, so this is the second root cause for majority of the health issues. And number three, weight gain, right? When you eat the starchy part, immediately it will converted into glucose, and this glucose with the effect of insulin, immediately it will be converted into fat, and it is going to be deposited in different parts of your body. And everybody know, right? Once you are overweight, obese, it would be the source of many other health issues in the body, right? And the fourth one is digestive issues. Most people who are suffering from digestive issues like constipation, acidity, acid reflux, or ulcerative colitis, right? Or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, burping issue, bulging issue, hemorrhoids. One of the major root cause for majority of these problems is excessive intake of carbohydrates, right? So because of this excessive usage of carbohydrates, what happened is a lot of fermentation happened in your digestive lining. Because of that, gut lining has been damaged. Because of that, you'll be seeing a lot of health issues, right? So this is the impact of eating excessive carbohydrates in our diet, right? Completely depending only on grains and ignoring the other forms of the food, fat, protein, and other forms of the food, right? I hope everyone understand it. So some common foods with refined grains. So this is the interesting thing. Why I have created this session is when I have consultation call with most people actually don't know what they are eating, right? They have been eating food, but what is available, right? Your parents might have passed on to you certain things, and you'll be eating. You'll be somewhere, and whatever is available, you will eat. But you don't consciously think, what am I eating, right? What is there in my plate, right? Whether I'm eating any balanced food or not. So most of the people are not aware. That is the major reason why people are not able to reverse these issues, why people are going behind medicines, hospitals, and all these things, right? That is the reason why, my dear friends, I want you to understand. If you have little awareness on food, if you have basic nutritional education, right, you yourself will be able to heal all of these problems. You don't need any medications, you don't go behind doctors. So that is the reason why I'm conducting these sessions for the next 4 to 5 sessions. Just be it here. And today I'll show you, right, some common foods which we eat. And most of us, we don't have awareness, the ingredients in it, right? And the alternatives, right? We will see all these things. So the first thing is people who excessively use polished white rice, right? Particularly people who are from south of India, most of their meals would be having this white rice, right? And let's understand what are the general meals, general recipes we generally eat, which is made out of white rice. So the general thali, where most of the people will take white rice, and 80 to 85% of the meal contains only white rice, and you'll be taking little bit of vegetables, right? So this is the major root cause for majority of these issues like obesity, diabetes, and majority of these issues, right? And then some people, they want to be little intelligent and they say that I'm eating jeera rice, right? This is healthy. But my dear friends, even it is jeera rice, 99% white rice, 1% other spices, right? Does it make much difference? It doesn't make much difference. So every time you are eating jeera rice or whatever the rice, just understand what you are eating. You are just putting the pure carbohydrates into your system, right? And lemon rice, some people eat lemon rice, and then tomato rice, curd rice. Most people, if they don't feel comfort in their stomach, or if they really want, if they think that their system is not proper today, I have some discomfort, they tend to eat curd rice, right? But ultimately again you are eating the white starchy part. 90% of the food you are eating is white rice, and 5-10% you are putting little curd, right? So that is why I want you to be aware of this. And fried rice, the most disastrous thing out of all these things is eating fried rice, because you are eating the white rice, along with that you are adding the oils, right, which have been used multiple times, and you are adding lot of additives to make it tastier. All these things combined will actually damage your gut in a much larger scale, right? So that is why I want you to understand, right? Every time you are putting any meal into your system, just understand what am I eating, right? Some people eat pulao, vegetable biryani, chicken biryani. Even people eat this egg biryani, chicken biryani. Still, they end up eating only rice, 90 to 95%, right? And dosa, right? Idli, vada. Most of these things contains more than 80%. rice part. My dear friends, understand one thing. If you have been feeding only carbohydrates, right, especially lot of rice into your system without actually balancing the food, these are the problems. These are the common problems which comes, right? Obesity, overweight. The more you put in lot of only rice without balancing the other nutrition, overweight, fat. Number two, diabetes. The biggest reason for having diabetes for most of the people is too much white rice, right? Without balancing the food, without putting fat, protein, and different kinds of other ingredients in the food. And blood pressure, right? Obviously, one of the major issue of majority of the people is having blood pressure. And then cardiovascular diseases, right? Heart related issues, high cholesterol and heart blocks. So this is one of the reason for majority of these issues, right? And then, so we have seen the mistake is too much eating the white rice. So what is the alternative for that? Simple. First alternative is switching to brown rice, right? If you are eating white rice, try to replace it with the brown rice so that you are actually putting a lot of nutrition. And since you are not only putting the just you are not just putting the white starchy part, so what happens, one on one side you are getting the nutrition, on another side you are actually balancing your sugar levels, right? And the second alternative is replacing with the millets, any kind of millet, because every millet contains more fiber and lot of vitamins and minerals when compared to white rice, right? And if you cannot immediately switch to brown rice or millets, it could be because of many practical reasons. Number one, if you are someone who is suffering from acidity, acid reflux, or any of the digestive issues, it is not recommended to completely switch to brown rice or millets immediately, right? It just takes some time. So in the meantime, what you can do is slowly you can switch, right? You can mix the white rice with 50% brown rice, right? 30%, 40%, 50%, just mix it and start taking the whole rice. Or you can add little bit of millets as well, right? So that is how slowly you are actually habituating your stomach or your digestive system with the new kind of whole grains, right? And the third alternative, if in case if you cannot switch to any of these things, maybe because of certain issues, people who are suffering from this gluten insensitivity, right, or any kind of food allergies, or severe acid reflux, or IBS, IBD. So sometimes your nutritionist will suggest to stick to white rice, because this particular brown rice or any millets contains a little bit of certain kinds of enzymes which is going to actually irritate the gut lining for the people who have the damaged gut lining, not for everyone, right? So in that case, what you can do is take the white rice, along with that make sure that 50% you add vegetable, salad, dal, right? Make sure that whatever you eat, it should be, the white rice should be less than 50%, right? The other 50% should be vegetables, salads, dals, or protein or fat, right? You can include many things. So I'll give you, maybe in the upcoming sessions, I'll give you complete clarity about how to change the meal plate. Okay. So this is how you can do that. And the second category of foods is Indian breads, right? Chapati, particularly people who are from northern part of India, people who are from western part of India, right? Their staple food is eating wheat, right? And some people, when they go out, right, they see the menu and they want to order naan. Bhaiya, do butter naan dena, right? It's a default for you, right? So, and tandoori roti. Most people think that tandoori roti is the one of the healthiest food. My dear friends, again you are taking the excessive grain, right? It may not be the maida, but again you are taking the grains. Rumali roti, the worst part of everything is rumali roti, complete maida, right? And parathas you will eat. And yeah, some fancy parathas, latcha paratha, Malabar paratha. So you'll make something out of it. And kulcha, puri, right? Bature, and luchi. If you are from Bengal, right? So you'll be eating these things. So one of the biggest problems, some of the biggest problems you get if you have been feeding your system with only these things. Number one, digestive problems. So people who have been excessively taking wheat, maida, right? The first thing that comes is digestive problems, constipation, right? And food allergies and gut lining damage, right? And it leads to acidity, acid reflux, hemorrhoids, piles, right? Indigestion. So all these things will come. Number two, gluten sensitivity. If you see, around 35 to 40% of the population are suffering from gluten sensitivity, right? Most people, they cannot properly digest the wheat, right? And because of this gluten content in the wheat, they are getting all these kind of digestive issues. So once they remove the wheat, or once they get into certain kinds of grains which are gluten free, they can see little lot of improvement immediately, right? But ultimately you have to reduce the intake of grains, right? That is the most important thing. And the last thing is PCOS, particularly women who have been eating only atta, anything which is made out of atta for a very long time, you tend to have this PCOS issue, right? And what is the alternative? Simply switch to whole wheat atta or millets, right? Again, millets are one of the best alternatives for gluten-free option, right? For anything. If you want to make chapati, roti, or whatever, just try to make it out of millets. So if you cannot immediately switch, what you can do is just mix it. 50% atta, 50% millet. Okay, just make a recipe and slowly just increase the quantity. And third alternative, again, if you cannot immediately change, make sure that you eat more vegetables, salads, dals, right? So that you can reduce the quantity of the grains. And the next one is snacks and street food, right? So samosa, right? Kachori, so papdi, golgappa, pani puri, and matri, so namakpara, so namkins, right? Most of us have been habituated to these namkins. We bring home, we make it in the home, right? Vada pav, so bread pakoda, so wraps. Nowadays, most of the people, when they go out, right, they just order a wrap or a Frankie and they just eat, right? So what are the major problems with these things is, because all these things contains, most of the things contains maida, right? The basic ingredient is maida. Because of that, you are seeing a lot of inflammation in the body, inflammations and joint pains, right? Because calcium will not be absorbed in your body if you have been feeding your system with these foods without having the right nutrition, right? Because of lack of absorption of calcium, you tend to see a lot of pains in different parts of your body and inflammation everywhere in your body, right? And second thing is digestive issues. People who have been depending on these foods, right, and continuously taking these foods without having control, then they tend to have a lot of digestive issues, and obviously weight gain and obesity. And the most important thing is heart related diseases, particularly the cholesterols. People who have been depending only on these foods, they tend to have high cholesterols and their heart health is at stake, right? So they have more probability of having these heart blockages, heart attacks. That is the reason why you have to check once again, right? You have to make little changes. And then sweets and desserts, right? So jalebi, malpua, khaja, most people, you have the habit of making these things on the festive season and then you continue to eat for a very long time. Gulab jamun, right? So if you have been excessively taking these foods which contain a lot of maida as well as sugar, right? The worst part about these foods is, right, you have two dangers. Number one is maida, number two is sugar. So it's a double edged sword, right? So it is going to make you more worse when it comes to health, right? So the first thing is skin problems and dental problems for a majority of the people. And then the most important thing is, if you are someone who have been addicted to these things, you have the emotional eating patterns, right? So that is why it is important to keep a check on it. And also make sure that you make any of these things, if in case if you cannot completely avoid it, right, just make it with a healthy ingredients, right? So we will share certain guides, okay, in the future, where how you can replace the existing sweets with the healthy alternatives, how you can switch from non-healthy breads to healthy breads. All these things we'll discuss more about in the future. And bakery items, right? People who have been excessively depending on bread, white bread or milk bread, or nowadays if you see in the market brown bread, right? My dear friends, brown bread is the biggest scam, because there is nothing called brown bread. It is a white bread. Along with that, they add little bit of the essence and they project it as brown bread. It's a whole bread, right? There is nothing called whole bread. Try to minimize the intake of bread wherever possible, right? And then pav, rusk. People have the habit of taking the rusk in the tea and coffee, right? So again, 100% complete maida or little bit of wheat. Again, it is going to create a lot of digestive issues. And then biscuits. Unfortunately, most people have this habit of taking biscuits regularly in the evening or in the snacks, right? 100% maida, and on top of that, sugar. 4 to 5 tablespoons of sugar you will have in just one small biscuit, right? So this is, and then puffs. People have the habits of eating different kinds of puffs when they go out, right? And breadsticks. My dear friends, if you have the habit of eating any of these things, right, type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. So that is the reason why, if you see, for the last 10 years, I've been observing even kids, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 16 years, kids are getting type 2 diabetes, right? So one of the major reason is taking these kinds of foods on a daily basis without having awareness what they are eating. And then thyroid issue, right? For most of the people, particularly the women, right, at the age of 9, 15, 16, 17, they get the thyroid issue. Nowadays people make it as a normal thing, right? Everybody says, I have a thyroid, you have a thyroid, right? It doesn't have to be that way. And a lot of inflammations in the body. And particularly young people, right, they tend to have this Indo-Chinese foods like noodles, right, chow mein, and then spring rolls and veg Manchurian, right, and gobi 65. So most people think that I'm eating gobi, I'm eating vegetable, but you end up eating the starchy part, and you end up eating the oil, right? And chili paneer, right? So what happens because of these foods? Because these foods not only contain the starchy part, they contain the oils, right? The reused oils and additives to make it tastier. So these things create a lot of inflammation in the body, which is leading to hair fall for most of the people. And then the most important thing is gut microbiome imbalance, right? Because of these fast foods, because of the sugary foods, most people tend to have this gut microbiome imbalance. Because of that, they tend to have a lot of mental and emotional health issues, right? They don't feel good, they always feel moody, right? They cannot focus on things. For all these things, the reason is gut microbiome imbalance, which is triggered by majority of these foods. And then in the festive seasons, right, you will tend to have different kinds of namkeens, right? Namak para. So these are the lot of namkeens, right? So one of the biggest problem with these namkeens is you tend to eat a lot of salt in it, right? So if you take excess salt, what happens? It has the tendency to store water in your body, right? So when you are having this tendency to store water, you will gain weight and you will not absorb certain important nutrients, right, in this body. That is the reason why you have to control these things. And these are the major issues: constipation, colon cancers, right? For the last 15 years I've been seeing colon cancers have been rising, right? So every year in India, if you see, lakhs of people are actually diagnosed with colon cancers. They start with simple constipation or simple acidity, digestive problems, end up having colon cancers after 5 years, 7 years, 12 years, 13 years. Earlier, colon cancers used to be actually coming to the older people after 60, 65, 70 years. But now, if you see, after 15, 20 years of age, a lot of people are getting this colon cancers because of this using excessive refined foods, along with that excessive additives, salt intake, preservatives, right? So, and then Western influenced foods like pizza, which is the crust of the pizza is completely 100% made out of maida, right? So you tend to you eat most 90% of the thing only maida, right? On top of that, you will have a little bit of fat here and there. And then pasta, right? Refined grain pasta, donuts. The worst part is eating donuts. There is no worst part than this, eating donuts, because you tend to have sugar, you tend to have refined grains, and you are having the oils, right? The unhealthy oils. So that is why I request each and every one of you, try to stay away from this and just make sure that your kids will stay away from these foods. And then cakes, different kinds of cakes, right? And pastries and cookies, Western style cookies. Nowadays we can get hundreds and thousands different types of cookies, right? And cupcakes, muffins, and brownies, right? Brownies is completely made out of refined flour, maida, and excessive sugar. So all these problems are actually triggering more gut problems, right? The gut microbiome imbalance, gut problems, leading to a lot of acidity and digestive problems. And the second thing is colon polyps. For most of the people, if you take the endoscopy or colonoscopy, you can see a lot of polyps in the intestines. So one of the main reason is excessive intake of sugar, right? And ultimately cancers, leading us to cancers. So that is the reason why we have to have knowledge on what we are eating. We should have knowledge on the basic nutrition, right? So that is the reason why I'm conducting these sessions. So yeah, so that's about today's session. And today I have just given you the clarity. And in the upcoming sessions, we are going to discuss more about it. So the only thing I want you to do is from tomorrow onwards, every time you are seeing the meal plate, just understand what you are eating, right? How much of carbohydrate, how much of fat, how much of protein I am taking, am I including any fiber in it, how to balance my meal, right? So that is the only thing I want you to have awareness on, and I want you to practice from tomorrow onwards. Okay, in the upcoming sessions we are going to discuss deeply, right? Exactly what are the possible mistakes we are making with respect to a breakfast, lunch, dinner, certain kinds of foods, and certain alternatives for that, right? Without compromising taste, without actually sacrificing much of the things, how can we actually convert every food into healthy food? So all these things we are going to discuss. So yeah, that's it for the day. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of knowledge today, right? Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next session. If you found this session valuable, type valuable in the chat box. And if you would like to continue this journey, the health journey, over the next 4 to 5 weeks, I want you to attend every session without miss, because all these sessions are like fundamentals for your health, right? You'll be learning a lot of good knowledge where you can apply it in your life on a daily basis. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you the other day, and have a great sleep. Enjoy the weekend, and don't go off track, right? Just attend the morning wellness sessions and follow the protocol without miss. Okay, great. I'll see you again. If you have any question, just ask it WhatsApp group so that I'll go through every question.